Greetings all on this beginning of spring in 2023. This is Claudia Manchanda, Radical Herbalist, and here I am with a Magnolia mini flora. And Magnolias are really interesting ancient plants that came in the Cretaceous period, which is the period after the dinosaurs. It's a period where a massive meteorite landed in Yucatan, and other plants of this period are like yuccas and pines, and it predates roses and it predates bees. Magnolia is named by someone called Charles Plumier in 1703, who was a botanist and naturalist, so-called naturalist colonizer, who went to the Caribbean and so-called South America and identified thousands of plants and animals. And Charles Plumier named this plant after another European man called Pierre Magnol. And Pierre Magnol lived in the 17th century in Montpellier, which was a kind of metropolis for trading and culture. And magnolias, being so ancient, existed when the land was still called Pangaea. And in the Cretaceous period, Pangaea was experiencing continental drift. So you have species of magnolias all around the world that are distantly related. It's called disjunct. They're disjuncted, they're distantly related, but they're actually, distinct species within their own continents. So we're just going to move on and look at some other magnolias in this kind of posh neighbourhood where I am. And magnolias are kind of quite a posh plant, meaning that they're quite expensive. And one of the reasons they're really expensive, apart from just being so absolutely beautiful, is that they take sometimes up to a decade to flower, and people tend to only buy them when they flower. So they have to be held for at least a decade before they have these first blooms. We're going to move on to another plant, and I'm going to talk about the medicinal properties of the plant. I'm just doing a video on the plant.
Hi, my name is Victor. I'm the Eastern Herbalist, and I'm here with my dear friend Claudia, Radical Herbalist, just helping her doing the weather's finally allowing us to do a video on Magnolia. And I'm gonna just cover a little bit of the anatomical parts of this beautiful bisexual flower of the Magnolia tree. Okay, so here we have the receptacle, and these are the sepals, and these here are the corolla or petals. On the inside you've got here the stamens covered in pollen, and then you've got here the pistils or carpels.
Greetings all, here's the next part of the video, and today we're talking about the medicinal parts of Magnolia, the science and uses in traditional medicine. I'm just going to show you the different parts. So here we have Mila, who wants to be in the video, and she's going to show us the different parts of the Magnolia in medicine. So do you want to show us the bud? No. Yep, and that's called Jin Yi, and it's used in sinus congestion. And then do you want to show us the treated bark? It's called hoopoe. Can you say it?
Hoopoe.
It's called hoopoe, and it's basically been harvested between April and June, and it's boiled, then dried in the shade, and sometimes it's treated with ginger. and it is then steamed and rolled. And there you can see the medicinal magnolia. Can you show us the fresh bud, please? And then this is the fresh magnolia flower, and these petals are actually called sepals, and they're picked off the central part of the flower, and they are used for, the central bit isn't used, as you can see, and they are used for pickles, for making a dry spice, for condiments, for making syrups, and medicinally they're often used with ginger for depression.
I can talk.
So in traditional herbal medicine systems, the effects of magnolia vary according to the dose and the timings of taking the remedy. The bark used for chronic use is used as a tonic for people with hypertension. It's also used for people with menopause. It's also used for nausea, for cancer, for Parkinson's disease, dementia, asthma, quite a lot of metabolic syndromes, ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety and depression. But I'm going to break it down a bit more for you. In Turtle Island, the plant's used as a mouthwash in place of quinine, as a mild diaphoretic, which means it helps to produce a sweat, and the bark's used as a tonic aromatic stimulant. It's contraindicated in high inflammatory situations. In Turtle Island, it's the cones are also steeped in alcohol for an astringent tonic, and the bark can be chewed like tobacco. In Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, the cortex that we just showed you is used. It promotes the movement of qi in the middle jiao and resolves food stagnation. It promotes the movement of qi downwards and transforms phlegm and descends rebellious qi. Rebellious qi sounds like sort of a funny term, but it refers to energy flow in the direction it shouldn't be going in. And this refers to qi inside the body, qi in communities or families, and even qi in the whole of the world. Rebellious qi is something that means the energy is moving in a way that isn't helpful for health. So the medicine of the wood, of the cortex of the plant, enters the large intestine and lung meridians and the spleen and stomach. It can be used for damp stagnation, which means sort of symptoms like loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, with yin excess or yang deficiency, which actually means like a cold constitution, a cold state. In homeopathy, one of the indications for magnolia is pains which rapidly change sight, for intermenstrual flow, for angina, rheumatism, vertigo, for pain in the teeth that actually stop people chewing, for nausea on rising, which is similar to the Chinese medicine use, and for leukorrhea, which is a white vaginal discharge. So the bark of magnolia is a bitter tonic, and tonic means in this case that it's quite astringent, and as I've said previously, it's been used as an alternative to quinine, and it's quite bitter and warming. Two chemicals inside this plant which are called biphenyls. They're very small polyphenol neolignans. I'm going to be using lots of technical terms from now on, and this is more for plant scientists and medical herbalists. These two small polyphenols that are found in the bark, seed, cone and seeds of many magnolias, but especially in Magnolia grandiflora that's got huge flowers that are up to 11, 14 inches wide. Magnolia biondi, that's one of the Chinese varieties, the obovata, and the Magnolia officinalis. So two of them that are mostly studied are called Honokiol, and Honokiol is named after an Honoki, which is the Japanese name for magnolia, and the other one is called Magnolol. So I'm going to start with talking about Honokiol, and then I'm going to talk about Magnolol. When chemicals are isolated, it doesn't really tell you how the whole plant medicine reacts within an individual, and even within botanical holistic preparations, there's many variations depending on the time of year, the way the product was processed, where the product was grown, where the plant was grown, whether what is surrounding the plant. So when I talk about the isolate chemicals, take it with a pinch of salt, but it's really useful to know as well. And also that actually some people do actually use the Honokiol on its own, and on its own it's actually contraindicated in antithrombotic diseases like haemophilias or von Willebrand disease on its own. Because it is from antithrombolytic, and one of those properties helps it contributes to its sort of anti-cancer mechanism. So Honokiol is a neolignan, and it has a spicy odour, and it's responsible for one of the spicy flavours in the plant. It's got a very high bioavailability, especially in fat, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and the cerebral spinal barrier, and as I said, it's anti-thrombotic, and it has anti-tumour activities through just so many mechanisms, and there are so many long words, but I'll just tell you a few of them. So it activates the perioxone proliferator activated receptor gamma gene. It works on SIRT3 modulation. It binds to cannabinoid 2 receptors, and its overall effects, the Honokiol, is that it's antidepressant, it's neuroprotective, it's anti-diabetic and antiviral. Many chemicals in the bark actually bind with cannabinoid receptors, and studies on the Honokiol shows that it helps with memory, cognition, motor control and neurodegenerative diseases, and the CB2 receptor also sort of helps with pain relief, lowers inflammation and lowers cortisol. Chemical Magnolol has a lower solubility and availability than Honokiol. It's a GABA A agonist. That means it binds with GABA receptors, which promotes non-REM sleep. It reduces anxiety, it's anxiolytic, and it's anticonvulsant. As I said before, remember that this chemical is only one isolate of the plant. Magnolol is also antifungal, and what's really interesting is it actually stimulates osteoblasts, which are the cells that build up bone, and inhibits osteoclasts, which basically infers that it helps with conditions where bone is being broken down, like from bone cancer, from osteoporosis, osteopenia, when the calcium's going from the bone. And it also binds to dimeric PAR gamma for anyone who studies cancer biology. I'm not going to go into that now. There have been many studies on both Magnolol and Honokiol, and they're antispasmodic, antidepressant, neuroprotective. They're active against gram-positive bacteria. They increase mitochondrial function through SIRT3 activation. They enhance glucose uptake via GLUT4 mechanisms, and also via PI3K inhibition, and that's part of their anti-cancer effect. They help to reduce diabetic complications and help with endocrine balance. They modulate gastrointestinal and uterine spasms. They're cardiovascular protectors, liver protectors. So pretty amazing chemicals. I'm going to talk a bit more about some of the lesser chemicals in the plant. And as I've said, learning about chemicals in a plant is very reductionist and doesn't show how the whole plant works in synergy. And the effects will be different on different people and from different plants. Different magnolia plants, that is.